I wanted to ask, how do you know when, like, you're actually connected to Source? Sometimes I know it's a wonderful, warm feeling, but I wanted to hear your description of it when you do sit and meditate and actually connect.
Well, the truth is you're always connected. What you have to ask yourself is, what direction am I going? I mean, who you are, who all of us are, our source energy. We have it within us. But the problem is that we walk away from it, but it's like you can't walk away from what you are. And what you are, it has a spark of God in you. And the best way to know that when it isn't ego, because ego is the part, it's like there are like these two forces. The Kabbalah teaches us that there are two forces. There's the force of light and there's a force of dark. And it's all the same force. I mean, but basically it's like, what direction is it going? When it is moving towards, hatred and bitterness and anger and judgment and resentment and fear and anxiety and stress and pain and so on, when you are moving in that direction, it's still, and I believe this and have written about this myself, that it's still love, but it's moving away from your source. Here's how I look at it. And then there's the other direction when you're moving toward it. So it's like, just picture the hands of a clock, okay? And at the top is there's two hands on the clock, okay? There's the minute hand and the hour hand. And you're born when both of them are right at the 12, right? So you can get a little metaphor of this in your mind. So now the not the hour hand, but the minute hand starts moving in the direction of towards, away from its source. The hour hand stays there. That's your source. And you are now moving. So you go past the 1 and you go past the 2 and you're moving away from your source. So this whole side all the way down to the 6 is each minute that goes by, or each hour, however you want to call it, that goes by, as you hit the 2 and as you hit the 3, 4, 5, this is all movement away from where you originated. You originated from a source of love, of perfect love, a source of what we call oneness, which means there's no opposites. The opposite of joy when you're in the ego state is sadness. But when you're in divine love, there's no opposite of joy. Everything is just joy, but you're not there because you're moving away until you get to the 6. And now you're at the 6. And this is when you're furthest away from your source. This is when you're at the lowest point in your life. This is when you feel that you've fallen as far as you can go. The anger, the hurt, the resentment, the pain is so deep there. And now you have a choice. You can either stay, you've moved away, taken on all this ego, believe that who you are is all the stuff that you own and all of the people that you're mad at, and all the judgments that you have towards others. But now you're at 6. Now you can either stay there because the hand doesn't go backwards. It won't go back to the 5, 4. It doesn't work that way. You have to now start coming the other way. Now you're going to the 7 and the 8, and now you're coming home. And it's when you're on this side, when you're coming home back to where you originated from, you're heading back towards perfect love. And divine love is the kind of love that was your origination point. And this is when you know that you're connected. It's not whether you're there perfect, because as long as you're in a human body, there's going to be some separation. There's going to be opposites. And as long as you're on this planet, there's going to be east and west, and north and south, and up and down, and male and female, and good and bad. All of these dichotomies that we all experience and these paradoxes. But ultimately, when you get back to the 12, when you rejoin it, what happens is you fuse these dichotomies. And you're in a place where there's only love. There's no opposite. And as you start to look out at the world and see people behaving in certain ways, you still only have love, because that's all that you are as you're connecting yourself back. And you'll find yourself slipping when you're at the 8 and when you're at the 9, at the 10. But the closer you get to reuniting yourself with your source of being, the more that you will experience just feelings of bliss and love and kindness and joy. And when you're not, it's probably because you've got thoughts of judgment and criticism and condemnation towards some of God's children or some of the creations that we have or that you run into. And when you get rid of the judgment and the condemnation and the criticism, you're at the 7 and you're coming home. So the question isn't whether or not, you're with your source. The question is, what direction are you moving? And knowing that you're with source is remembering who you are, remembering where you came from, knowing that you don't, when you came into this world, you had no judgment. You just, you just were here, and you were just accepting, and your mom put her breast in your mouth, and you were just content and happy and gurgling and all of that. And then you took on this ego, and then you starting to believe, and then comparing yourself and trying to be better than other people. All of this is movement away. And now you start coming home, and you become more and more like God, which is really just where you become a being of sharing, because that's what God is. You know, God just offers us everything in the universe, whatever it is, the source that we came from. It's just a source of abundance, and it doesn't ask for anything in return. It just allows anything to be. And the more and more you find yourself doing those things, that's when you know you're reconnecting, or at least you're heading back to the source